I'm Dan Graziano in for Greeny. We have Mike T and Harry Douglas here to talk some NFL football. We'll be getting into some baseball, WNBA All-Star Game this weekend, but we begin with news out of Pittsburgh. T.J. Watt and the Steelers have agreed to a 3-year extension that will make him the highest-paid non-quarterback in the history of the NFL. Watt, who leads the NFL in sacks across the last 5 seasons, is going to earn $40 million a year as part of a contract that includes $108 million fully guaranteed at signing. He is happy about this. T.J. Watt posted this picture on his Instagram shortly after the news was announced, clearly fired up and ready to get to work after an off season of, I guess, some degree of uncertainty. T.J. Watt has missed only 11 games in his 8-year NFL career, guys, but the Steelers are 1-10 in those games. So, pretty important player. What does this signing mean for this Steelers season?
Yeah, and it puts a ribbon on a really interesting offseason and eventful offseason for the Steelers. We go all the way back. It started with DK Metcalf, gave up a second-round pick and $33 million a year, very un-Steeler-like. But to me, it was the first round of the NFL draft, massive inflection point, 21st pick. A couple quarterbacks are on the clock. They don't take one. They take a good player in Derek Harmon. That told the world they were all in on Aaron Rodgers. Then they trade for a couple of aging good players in Jonnu Smith and Jalen Ramsey. To me, this is a ribbon on we are all in to try to win this season.
It has been a fascinating offseason for the Steelers. They brought in a lot of new guys. They've also let go of some key guys as well. So when you look at the Steelers, they make the playoffs. They lose in the first round. It's become a recurring theme. The fans don't need me to remind them. They're thinking about the Super Bowl. Are they Super Bowl contenders?
As much as I love the Pittsburgh Steelers and I love the moves that they made this offseason, I do not deem them as Super Bowl contenders right now currently. And part of that, Mike T, and also Graz, is because of their offensive line and how things is predicated, how those guys are going to grow this season, and also can they rush the football and protect Aaron Rodgers. That offensive line has 4 of their 5 starters going into year 2 or year 3 going into this season. So if that offensive line, if they're mauling people, if they're winning the line of scrimmage, then we're having a different conversation, but we do not know that yet.
You say not Super Bowl contenders. How far can they go? What kind of team can they be?
I believe they can win a game in the playoffs.
Well,
I believe they can make a playoffs and then win in the first round. I do believe that.
And I think more fundamentally, I agree with what you said there, Harry, about the offensive line, but even if Aaron Rodgers plays really well, guys, he's the 3rd best quarterback in this division behind Joe Burrow and Lamar Jackson. And I think a really key player, one that we don't talk a lot about, is Caleb Johnson, their 3rd-round running back. Arthur Smith, who's a very talented offensive play caller, when he's been most successful, he wants to run the ball, as Harry mentioned, play action, and then try to get Aaron Rodgers on the move. But here, Caleb Johnson was a really productive back at Iowa. That will take pressure off of what will be a 42-year-old Aaron Rodgers.
So I would also say this, Graz, because I know Arthur Smith very, very well. And him trading for Jonnu Smith at the tight end position, Jonnu was with him in Tennessee.
Yep.
Jonnu was with him with the Atlanta Falcons. He is going to utilize him. I played with Jonnu when I was in Tennessee. He's not your normal tight end. He has the build of and the athleticism of a bigger, stronger receiver, a guy that can also, you could put on the end line of the scrimmage and block in the run game. So they're going to utilize him to the best of their abilities. Him and Pat Freiermuth being together is going to be dynamic.
Yeah, it's not hard to figure out what they're going to want to do, right? They draft the running back in the 3rd round, build it around him. DK Metcalf is a wide receiver, doesn't mind blocking. You talk about the tight ends blocking. They want to be a running team. In terms of the defense, this is something we've gotten used to over the years. The Steelers play great defense.
That's right.
They are famous for it. Is this defense, which has a little bit of age on it, a bunch of guys over 30 years old, I think the average age might be one of the oldest in the league in terms of defense, are they still a defense they can count on?
1,000%. Because you look at over the last, especially since Big Ben retired, this defense has really carried the Steelers organization. You look at last year versus the Baltimore Ravens in their first matchup. They won that football game 18-16. And it was that defense and 3 turnovers that they got in that matchup that allowed them to beat the Baltimore Ravens and Lamar Jackson and John Harbaugh. Now, it's not a world that you want to live in where you have to count on your defense every single game to get it done. You want Aaron Rodgers in this offense to be hitting on all cylinders. You want DK Metcalf to be catching touchdowns, whether it's a 50-yard post route or a goal line fade or a slant that Aaron Rodgers hit him on. You want Caleb Johnson hitting his head on the goalpost. But at the same time, the MO of this football team, what people know the Pittsburgh Steelers from, it's that defense. Now, when you have them out there entirely too much, that's when we see issues and problems, and that has been the issue since Big Ben retired.
Harry, I'm going to push back on that a little bit to Dan's point, which is when you're building a team, one of the indices you're looking at is how many players do we have over 30, and going into the season, they have 4. Darius Slay, Jalen Ramsey, Cam Hayward, and the aforementioned TJ Watt. So when you look at this graphic, my question is, if the 3 of us were running the Steelers and we asked ourselves in an honest and sober way, is it reasonable for those 4 players on the left to all play in 17 games? Age, data, and stats would tell us that's a 50-50 proposition at best. That would be my concern about this Steeler defense. And Dan, I know you brought this up, but when you look at both the Bengals, certainly, and the Ravens and what they can do offensively, this defense has to play up to that level, if not better, to where they've been in the past for them to win the division. And that's my concern, is because of the age. Can they do it for 17 games against 2 teams we know can score with quarterbacks that are in their prime?
I guess, could they do it for 17 games is a good question, but you know, you're talking about the offense coming together. Is it possible that this is the kind of team that the defense has to do it early in the season while the offense gets it figured out? Can you see them ultimately becoming a playoff caliber offense?
Yeah, potentially, because we all know this, and Mike T, you know this being a general manager. When you get into training camp, the defense is always ahead of the offense. And the more these guys are together, the more they start and begin to gel, I think you're going to find that continuity. If the Pittsburgh Steelers can get the run game going, that play-action game is going to be serious. Aaron Rodgers can still make every single throw on the football field, as Mike T is shaking his head. He doesn't believe in Aaron Rodgers. But I do, Mike T. No, I do this morning.
You know what bothers me? You know where I'm aggrieved is what Dan just said. He goes, while the offense figures it out, here's the juxtaposition. On the one hand, Aaron Rodgers wins 4 MVPs, Super Bowl champ, made $300 million. If he went off in the sunset, we would celebrate him, no issues. When you decide to play, be there for the offseason so you don't have to ask the question while the offense figures it out. The offense figures it out in April, May, and June. We got to go win right away. So, Aaron Rodgers, you're in. I celebrate that, and I really admire that. I really do. But if you're in right now, not any other time.
He's in right now, Mike. He's in right now.
I don't want you to throw one time at UCLA with DK Metcalf and let the world know. I want you in Pittsburgh in April, May, and June, so Dan Graziano doesn't have to ask the question while they figure it out. You figure it out in the offseason, so in September you hit the ground running.
Mike, it's either that or Mason Rudolph.
I got to ask some questions, and thankfully the Steelers have given us an incredibly eventful offseason on which to base these questions. Interesting thing about that, though, is all the moves they've made haven't really impacted their Super Bowl odds. They were 60-1 to make the Super Bowl back in early March, and now down to just 40-1, which is the 17th best odds in the league. So we will see. With Watt's extension, the record for highest paid defensive players, pass rushers, has gone up significantly. There was $35 million a year just a few months ago. Now TJ Watt up at $41 million a year. This is notable for guys like Trey Hendrickson of the Bengals and Micah Parsons of the Cowboys, who are seeking their own new deals and trying to break some records. So we want to focus on Micah Parsons and the Cowboys. This is something we've talked a fair bit about. He has 1 year left on his contract. Jerry Jones was talking back in March about the possibility of a deal with Micah Parsons. Still not done. What do you make of that?
I think they're waiting. It's costing them money. Again, we've talked about this for over a half a decade. You go back to Zeke Elliott. You go back to Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb. Micah Parsons is a great player beyond reproach. Now, in fairness, Dan, maybe Micah Parsons wanted to wait, but Philadelphia in the same division gets players in a room and say, hey, let's figure it out right now. So if the 3 of us were having this conversation a year ago, Nick Bosa, $34 million a year. This offseason, we've seen Myles Garrett, amongst others. Now we're at $41 million a year. For the same player, guys, that's $7 million more at least per year. So when you see good players leave, like the Marcus Lawrence, Jordan Lewis, amongst others, it's because by waiting over and over again, and Dallas does a great job of drafting, they are paying an unnecessary premium because they're letting the market dictate these big pay increases.
So I would say this, go back to last season. It's always some kind of chaos when it comes to contracts with the Dallas Cowboys. Now, I will give Jerry credit. He pays his players, and as a former player, you love that because you want guys to get their money. But at the same time, it's 2 or 3 guys you could potentially keep on your roster or add to your roster if you do it at a time where it's not urgent. You look at the Philadelphia Eagles, and I'm glad you brought up Howie Roseman and the way they do things. They don't wait to the last minute to pay their players. They do it beforehand, so you don't have these situations that the Dallas Cowboys find themselves in time and time again. But I'll say this about Michael Parsons. TJ Watt just got his money. He's making $41 million a year, the highest paid non-quarterback in the league. Everything is in black and white. The fine print is there. What's the hold up now?
Right.
I want to know what's the...
Hello, chào mừng các bạn đã quay trở lại với kênh của mình. Để bắt đầu vào làm thì các bạn sẽ chuẩn bị cho mình những dụng cụ như sau nhé. Ở đây mình có chuẩn bị một tờ giấy màu đỏ này. Tiếp theo các bạn sẽ chuẩn bị cho mình một cây kéo, một cái bút chì, một cái thước này. Cuối cùng là một cây súng bắn keo như thế này nhé. Rồi bây giờ mình sẽ hướng dẫn các bạn vào làm nhé. Các bạn sẽ lấy cho mình cái bút chì và thước kẻ. Cho mình kích thước của cái tờ giấy này. Nó sẽ là 14 cm nha. Rồi mình đã đo xong 3 góc này của nó rồi. Bây giờ mình sẽ kẻ nó thành một cái ô vuông nhé.